The worst part about organizing a bunch of newer Pokemon sets is that you never know what any of these set symbols are. I mean, like, what is this? A foot? I have no idea what that is. What's this? There's no set symbol on this card. This one just has a 2. I don't understand how the Pokemon Company works. Somebody help me. Hey there, kiddos, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank, and that you are having a great day. And in today's video, I'd like to sit back in my squeaky chair, relax, and have a conversation not about the Flesh and Blood RTN that I attended today, because I spent 6 hours getting my butt kicked, but instead, I'd like to continue my conversation from the previous video on the channel. And in that video, I talked about why I thought it was important that you go back and evaluate regularly what has and has not worked for you in terms of what you're buying and selling and all that jazz. In that video, briefly at the end, I had also mentioned that I think it's important for you to evaluate why that works, why something's working for you. Because believe it or not, very rarely does something work or not work for no reason. There's usually a few factors that go into play that determine the outcome of certain decisions. Yes, you can just get lucky. That's totally a thing. And everything can just magically work out for you, no matter what you choose to buy or hold or sell, whatever. But if you have no care towards the reasons things may not work, if you don't care to evaluate outcomes and try to look at the reasons behind why something might be successful, well then, in my opinion, you might as well just go gambling. Because if you are relying on pure chance for your decisions to work out in the end, then gambling is going to be just as efficient for you as trying to run any kind of business, side hustle, or whatever in the long term. Because sooner or later, if you go with the mentality of, oh, it's just going to work out, no matter what decision you make, sooner or later, you're going to get burned really bad. Okay? For some people, it's sooner. For some people, it's later. But it does happen. And, there are a lot of factors that go into what can work. You can sit on an investment for years and it doesn't go up. Some sealed product you've been looking at have not gone up, even though you were so sure it was a sure hit. It was a really good product, really good set for a good game, but no one really seems all that interested in buying. The sales have been slow, and so the sealed product you have has not been going up. Meanwhile, you got some product from another card game, and suddenly it's the hot ticket item all over the internet, and it's skyrocketing 100% or 1,000% per box. And trying to evaluate that obviously is easier to do with hindsight, but figuring out what works can also help illustrate, inform, yes. Figuring out what works for some things will help inform your decisions of what to do in the future. That was a sentence I think that I had much more difficulty saying than I've had thinking. Whatever. For some people, running a Pokemon card business where they just buy a bunch of sealed product, buy collections, and flip it is going to be easy. Why it's easy is going to come down to several factors. Location can be very important. A Pokemon business can be very successful just because it's outside of 2 blocks from a school. So kids get out of school and they want to play some Pokemon, right? A Yu-Gi-Oh business can be successful because it happens to be in an area with a lot of retro Yu-Gi-Oh fans who've been a huge fan of the game for 20 years. And even though they don't like where the new Yu-Gi-Oh is going, the store itself holds retro formats. So they play Yu-Gi-Oh all the time there. A store can have a huge Warhammer scene just because of a handful of passionate fans, and a retro game store can be really good because the way the market's shifting away from modern games to retro games. There's a bunch of things that can, and there's loads of other examples of what could affect a store, and there's also the mentality of the person behind the operation. Some people will have an easier time investing, in which case, maybe there's nothing wrong with that. But I do tend to think that putting all of your money into sitting on items is a poor use of your money for the short term. Some people will have an easier job buying bulk and sifting through bulk and organizing bulk, and God, do I love bulk. And some people will have an easy job doing faster flips, buying collections and selling them the same day, or buying from distribution and trying to either sell the sealed product or cracking it open for product. for singles. Different decisions are going to play out differently based on a bunch of factors. And, I know that a lot of these can seem disjointed and spread out, but that's because there's a lot of different things that you have to take into account when it comes to what does or does not work and why it does or does not work. And the reason I'm stressing this, the reason there's 2 whole videos now dedicated to this subject is because you only have so much time on this planet. And I've said before on this channel, the most valuable resource you have, your most valuable resource, is time. And how you choose to spend that time will really determine how much success you see if you're doing any kind of TCG business, whether it's a side hustle, a full store, or somewhere in between. Okay. Figuring out what does or does not work and why it does or does not work can help you make the smartest decisions that will, in theory, lead you to success. Yes, there's going to be things that are outside of your control, both good and bad, obviously. But if you know what does and does not work, you can make more informed decisions that are less likely to burn you in the long term, theoretically. Obviously, markets shift all the time, but it's important to be able to see that coming and try to make informed decisions going into market shifts. Something that's worked for 5 years might not necessarily work 5 years in the future, but knowing what does and does not work, even in the short term, because, again, this is a lot of short-term stuff going on here, can at the very least keep your business afloat and give you that cushion necessary to help you when things turn. And it's not just in business, too. This is not business advice, obviously, but this is life advice. Because figuring out what does and does not work will go a long way towards making you a happier person in the long term, I think. It's not just that in business there's certain products that need your time and money and attention. It's in life there's things that need your money and attention, your time and all that jazz. And some things you're going to be good at, some things you're not. And that's fine. I really like playing card games. I'm a huge fan of card games. I'm not good at it because a lot of my spare time is spent trying to improve and grow my business, my personal side business, by doing something here in the garage, whether it's sorting cards, organizing sets, sending out orders, whatever have you. So I don't exactly have a lot of time dedicated to becoming better at card games, and that's fine. There are people who are absolutely miserable actually doing card games or video games or whatever as a side hustle, so they get to spend more free time practicing their gaming skills and getting good at the card games they love. And that's fine too. There's people who naturally find streaming video games good, and there's people who naturally find developing video games fun and rewarding. And you have to evaluate for yourself. You have to decide for yourself what works, why it works, and are you enjoying what works? Because again, that really does go a long way towards, yes, your business decisions will be more informed and better fleshed out and less likely to screw you over in the long term if you're making informed decisions based on what works and how it works and why it works. Understanding what you're doing. That's the key word. Understanding what you're doing will help you in the long term, whether in business or in your personal affairs. Okay? That's really what I'm trying to say here is, like last video, know what works. But in this video, the lesson I'm trying to impart is not just know what works, but why it's working. Is your TCG player business working good because you bought the hot new item, or is it working because you were really smart with how you priced items and what you're spending on shipping materials? Are you really nickel and diming yourself when it comes to the bulk stuff you're sending out, so that you're never losing money no matter what people are buying products at? Because it's possible to lose money on TCG Player. If you're pricing your cards at a penny, you're going to lose out. Hate to break it to you, especially if someone buys like 900 penny cards is going to destroy you, I think. Would not be worth it. You know, there's a lot of things that go on in life. Some you have control over, and some you don't. Focus on what you have control over. Figure out what works for you, and move forward with it. And I think that if you go with that mentality, you're going to have an easier life. Not necessarily an easy life, just easier. So, I don't know. If you made it this far, that means you probably either enjoy my advice or at the very least enjoy some rambling old man in your background. So please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below if you agree with me, disagree with me, any of that nonsense. Check out the Discord, check out the Patreon. And yeah, I'm going to get back to sorting because I'm not going to get back to playing cards right now. I lost in this RTN. Maybe in the next one I won't do that bad. Wish me luck. Ciao.